Unit 3, Biology, Brain Functions Study Guide by Caleb Anderson. This guide has two parts. Part 1, Brainstem and smaller brain parts. That's marked by the blue slide. Part 2, Brain Lobes. That's marked by the red slide. Part 1, Brainstem and smaller parts. Medulla. The medulla controls heart rate and breathing. The medulla is going to be at the bottom of the brainstem. Pons. The pons generates respiratory rhythm of breathing. So that pons is going to be above the medulla, but the reticular formation is going to be below the pons. Reticular formation. Reticular formation controls arousal. Thalamus. The thalamus receives information from all senses except smell. It sends it to higher brain regions. Cerebellum. The cerebellum enables nonverbal learning, memory, helps judge time, modulate emotions, and discriminate sounds and textures. Hippocampus. The hippocampus is responsible for storing long-term memory. Amygdala. The amygdala influences aggression and fear. It helps process fearful and threatening stimuli. Hypothalamus. The hypothalamus controls eating, helps govern the endocrine system, and is linked to emotion and reward. Part 2, Brain Lobes. Cerebrum. The cerebrum initiates and coordinates movements and regulates temperature. The cerebrum contains all the lobes of the brain. The frontal lobe. The frontal lobe is responsible for speaking and muscle movements. Parietal lobe. The parietal lobe receives sensory input for touch and body positioning. So that parietal lobe is going to be at the back of the brain, but before the occipital lobe. The occipital lobe is at the very back of the brain. The occipital lobe receives information from visual fields. The temporal lobe. The temporal lobe receives information from opposite ears. Motor cortex. The motor cortex controls voluntary movements. Sensory cortex. The sensory cortex registers and processes body touch and movement sensations. Association areas. Association areas are higher mental functions, including learning, remembering, thinking, and speaking. The cerebral cortex. Information processing contains 70% of the brain's neurons. It is a thick, bark-like layer of the brain.